and welcome to the Council of Moms. I'm Lisa Valentine Clark. I'm the mother of 5. I'm a solo parent. 4 of my kids have left home. One's still at home. We both look at each other like, now what? And I don't have an answer for that. But I like being a mom a lot. So much so that I really want to find out what the grandma experience will be like. I feel like it will take a lot of the best parts of motherhood, but I don't know. Because I'm not
So
one yet.
fun.
But anyway, that's how much I like motherhood. I love it, and I'm glad that you're here, the Council of Moms, where people listen and respond the first time you ask. So that's a
I
delight.
like that. That's
Right?
a good one. Yes.
The Council of Moms, if we can save just one person from packing a banana in their child's lunchbox, it will have been worth it. Don't do it.
Gosh.
It's not worth
Gross.
it. They won't eat it. It'll turn
Never.
brown
They
and gross.
Won't.
They won't ever.
Mushy.
Stays
Mm-mm.
there.
And it stays there. And as always,
does.
the Council of Moms made with real moms. Boy, we've got the realest moms you'll ever meet. Here to introduce themselves are our 3 moms.
Okay. Hi, I'm Lindsay Clark. I'm the mom of 7 children. My oldest is 22. My youngest is 9. I'm a stay-at-home mom, which is a lot of work. And I love to dance. That's something you might need to know about me,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
100%. I need to know.
I know you do.
I'm Whitney Call. I'm the mom of 3 young boys, 9, 8, and 7, basically. And I'm a comedian, which is necessary for being a mom.
This comes in handy.
Yes.
Comes in handy.
Love that. Love that. My name's Ruth. I'm a mom of 4, 12, 10, 8, and 6, almost 7. Those last 2, whew, too close. And I am I'm here. I
I
did
love it. Thank you for being here. Yeah, congratulations
You
to
did it.
everybody
Woo.
to do all the
That's
things
right.
necessary to be here. This is true.
We're here.
Well, our question today has to do with information. So lean in. My kids have finally reached the age where they're becoming aware of conversations around them. And it's brought up some new things between me and my spouse, mainly what or how much we should filter. I was raised in a household where my parents never fought in front of the kids. Any disagreement, however minor, happened behind closed doors. They would literally leave the room. My husband was raised in the opposite situation. Mom and dad would work it out at the dinner table. We laugh about how different our families are, but we're also not sure what our approach should be. It seems like there are pros and cons to letting your kids behind the scenes in your relationship. I want them to have a good model for communication. I don't want to traumatize them. What has worked for you? How do you decide what to share?
Great
Huh?
question. I love that one.
It's such a good question.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh,
Let's
boy.
just put it out there that we've already traumatized them. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
already happened.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
We don't have control over what story they're going to tell about
There's
their growing
no
up
avoiding that.
experiences.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
woo, we can let go of that one.
That's
Well,
right.
and I just think it's so funny that, like, she even says, like, any disagreements happen behind closed doors. And I'm like, but you knew they were having the disagreement, right?
You
like,
knew it.
Yeah.
Like, we
Yeah.
think we can hide so much from our kids, but they see and perceive a lot more. My older
yeah.
kids, they're like, oh, we know you guys didn't, agree on this. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? But they can tell.
They
Yep.
can. They can totally map that. And I personally think I grew up in a house where I don't think I ever saw my parents argue. But my husband, he did. And I have no problem arguing in front of my kids. But we have a healthy, good marriage. So I think any normal behavior needs to be modeled in front of our kids. I think it's, for me, I
That's
think
a
it's
great
totally
point.
fine. And I think obviously if it's a marriage where things are rocky and scary, I don't think that should be in front of the kids.
Like
But
screaming
normal-
and hitting below the belt, you mean? Stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, I'm not talking that. I'm talking arguments, disagreements, normal behavior. I think it's totally fine. I think it's fine to see us get mad and disappointed because that's part of life. and then work through it. Like what a gift to see your parents work through it and then like each other and talk. Maybe it's 2 days later. I'm fine with that. If my kids see me giving my husband the silent treatment, fine with it. But they know we love each other and we work through it and we come back. But that's just me personally. And I have a really good marriage. So I feel like that works for us. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I feel like my husband and my relationship has been through many ups and downs. And in some of our downs, there's been a big period of time in like early addiction recovery work that my husband and I were working through where it was really hard to keep a smile all the time around my kids. And they were young, they were real young. And so I think that part of it is developmentally, at what age can they understand, the gray area of we're having a disagreement, but this doesn't mean, X, Y, and Z. Like at what age can they take different kinds of information? And so I know that at that period of my life, it was no secret that I was having a really hard time. And so sometimes they'd come up to me and say like, Mom, are you okay? What's going on? And I wouldn't want to just be like, yeah, I'm fine. Because then they would start to feel like, oh, well, my mom's not telling me the truth because I can see things aren't okay.
Yeah.
And so I would tell them, I'd say like, I'm just feeling really sad right now. And I'd say, like, there's just some things that like Dad and I are working through and my feelings were really hurt. And I felt like that was about as much as they needed to know. And I think as they get older, we tell a little bit more of our story, but we try to also make sure it's in safe areas that we're communicating it. Not like right after a fight do we say like, well, here's all the skeletons, kids. It's really more like, okay, like we're in the car, we're in a good place where they're like interested in learning more about like life. And so let's talk about these things. So I'd say like setting and age are really important factors for me in how much I tell.
Yeah.
But I never want to be in a place where I'm outright lying about what's going on with their parents, because they're not stupid. Like you said, they can pick up on it. And so it's more like little bit at a time, I think right now.
I think that's such an important point to make it age appropriate, right? Like they don't need to know, like how much do they need to know about any subject based on their age or their development is a great consideration. And it's funny, like as your kids get older, they want to know all the details, right? Like, who are you talking about? What are you talking about? Who is that? Who?
Yeah.
And keeping that appropriate for their age and respectful is good. And I think you guys all brought up a really important point, which is, can you model for your kids that you can disagree and still love someone? Boy, wouldn't that be so great if every mom taught their kids that you can disagree and still love each other, right? Like how to and you're really modeling too how to disagree on something, at a time where emotions are sort of running high. So it can be used as an opportunity, maybe not every subject and maybe not every disagreement or fight, but certainly some of them, right? So I'm curious, like, how do you know what you're like, hey, we need to finish this behind closed doors, or no, let's finish this conversation right now. That's fine. How do you gauge that?
And I think that's a really good question. And I think it's, again, considering all the things that Whitney and Lindsay have mentioned, and also just that emotional safety. Because I think when we're talking about disagreements, we're talking about, emotions, and some can be high, intense emotions that can lead to some emotional unsafety, depending on how we handle it. I still believe it's important to model that, because I have a story where I'm also a therapist, very, very part-time. But I had and it's such a beautiful experience to be able to be with people and on their journey and trust me to be along with them. But they really struggled in relationships. It was, someone in their 20s. And as we kind of figured out why, what was this challenge? And it was mostly when there was something that would come up in the relationship, that someone they were wanting to date or were dating, and it would just be like, oh, a conflict. A conflict would
Oh,
arise,
yeah.
and it would feel so unsafe, that they would just end it. They would end the relationship. And we were trying to uncover and dig through, like, why was that? Why would they just end the relationship instead of trying to resolve the conflict,
Uh-huh.
together? And it was because growing up, they would see mom and dad handle conflict entirely on their own, not in front of the kids. And it was so interesting, right? I don't think that those parents intended for that to happen, to their child, but it can, right? Because we're modeling kind of relationship. When I think about how I do my own relationship, it's also how it was modeled for me too, right?
Yeah.
So we're all learning, but I think it comes to, again, that emotional safety. Is this a topic that is age appropriate, that can be handled in a way that is still safe for kids? And can we, come to an agreement or resolve it? Or is this something more serious or more that I'm still figuring out my emotional safety with the conflict? And if I, the adult, am still figuring it out, probably not best to bring that to the table with
Oh,
modeling for
yeah.
my kids.
I appreciate you like sharing your experience as a therapist in this and like what that can be, misinterpreted as we try to shield our kids with the best of intentions from things that it does have unintended consequences. That's so interesting to me. I remember when my kids were little and they came home and they were like, which political party are we? Are we this or that or this or the other? And my husband and I just looked at each other because we were two different political parties at that time. And we were like, okay, and I think you could see that they were shocked that we didn't think the same things on all things. But looking back, I'm so proud of the conversation that we had because we spoke respectfully about it to each other and in front of our kids of like, well, I value this and I like this because of that. And your father values this and likes this because of that. And neither is perfect in this. And it gave a fuller conversation than just like, what does our family think on this? And I think that can be applied to a lot of different things too.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
you can tease about certain things. There's certain things that my late husband believed in, conspiracy theories that I did not. And so we could tease each other about, I'm like, well, your father thinks this, but I know this or whatever. And our kids were like, yeah, we actually don't want to know why you guys disagree on that. We think you're both weird, and so, but I like the idea of normalizing that you don't have to be the same person to be in a healthy marriage. And in fact,
Absolutely.
like just pretending like you both believe the same things, I think is disingenuous. And I don't think that
Yeah.
is a healthy relationship. And so
Yeah.
giving them that expectation, I think is that helpful as they're looking for a partner of like, well, what do you need to have in common? Well, values, right? And life kind of like overall, values to what's important and what you feel is true and the kind of life you
Yeah.
want to live to build a life together. Like those things are important to have similarities, but not all the things that we think that
Right.
you have to
Yeah.
be similar on. And the way that we react to each other is modeling how you resolve that or how you live with it or what it means, whether it's funny or whether it's serious or whether it's respectful or whether it's disrespectful. They can tell.
Yeah. I like bringing in low stakes opportunities for disagreement because even just your kids getting used to their parents not always being,
Yeah.
one blob, I think is really healthy. And if it's in
Yeah.
a way where it's like they can clearly tell, the family isn't going to break apart over this. It's
Yeah.
low. I think there are lots of things like that we could organically bring up on our own in front of our kids just to like show them like, yeah, and we're all okay. Like we get
Yeah.
along okay because we know how to handle it.
Right. And
Yeah.
just normalize it. I think my family, we run more sensitive. I'm more sensitive. We all are. actually.
Mm.
And I've noticed that that's been really good for us to be able to say, like, because I'll hear my kids sometimes say, like, oh, I don't want to talk to them about this because it will just ruin the whole day. It will ruin the whole weekend. It will ruin our whole trip, right? Like, and it's like, no, it doesn't have to. Like, you can talk through it. It's just an argument. It's just a disagreement. This is how. Like, there are some ways to teach our kids how to have an argument and a disagreement.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more
Mhm.
beautiful than disagreeing, like in a respectful, mature way. And so
Yeah.
I'm not always that way when I'm fighting with my husband. And that's kind of when I know to, like, yeah, we need to, like, go on a drive and talk. But if we can just listen to each other and we can say, why do you think that? And
Yeah.
that's weird. And it's not like, oh no,
Yeah.
this is bad.
Mhm.
It's like, no, it's not bad. This didn't ruin our night. This little fight actually didn't ruin our night. Like, we're fine.
Yeah.
I think that's really healthy for me. It's been healthy for me. And I think it's helping my kids to be like, it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't have to be a big deal. And even if we don't resolve it tonight, we can be mature enough to grow up a little bit and be like, I still want to hang out with you tonight.
Yeah.
Like my husband. And it's not like a weird thing. It's like, I still want to talk and laugh, but we are going to visit this later and we're going to talk through it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's just a more mature way of, like, self-improving and growing up,
Mhm.
which I am really striving to do. And it's not perfect,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I want my kids to do better than I've done, for sure.
Well, and I'll say, while I know that low stakes, I try to do that too. I've know many opportunities when the high stakes come out because the emotions get, are at the front seat and
Yeah.
and we just go at it, right? I'm
Yep,
like, this one
totally.
was probably one I didn't want to have it come out of the bag. And
Okay,
it's
so when
happened.
that happens, Ruth, how do you recover? Like, what do you got?
Yeah. So
What's the conversation after you're like, ugh, that probably wasn't the best?
yeah. And if you think about those higher stakes, you're really not liking each other at the moment. You need time, time apart, whatever. And the kids were there through it all. I just let the kids know I need a moment. I'll be back.
Mhm.
Because I know
Yeah.
I don't want to speak ill of my spouse. I'm not in the right mindset. I need to calm down. I need to regulate my emotions first. But I let them know, like, and I hope that they can see that, what, sometimes we do maybe show them, conflict that, or whatever it is that we weren't intended to. But I can model that we can regulate our emotions and then come back to it.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back to them just to check in on them, especially again if there was I'm the more intense.
Yeah.
I just can't stop myself sometimes. And so I'll talk to them and say, how are you? We did, and just kind of age appropriately explain
Mhm.
what happened, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
still with the understanding that Dad and I are still on the same team. We're just
Yeah.
working through things.
And
Yeah.
just
Even
being
if it
honest
was maybe a
about it.
little scary in the moment. And sometimes they're like, "Oh, Mom, that made me feel a certain way," and we'll talk about it,
Yeah.
right? But I just wanted to say, repair can still happen when those
Mhm.
types of situations do come
Yeah.
out, because we are
Sure.
human,
Yeah.
Yep.
and that there's still learning opportunities there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder how this conversation changes if you are co-parenting with someone that you're not married to anymore,
Oh,
like a divorce,
totally.
or like in my case, my husband has passed away. And so like my older kids saw that interaction a lot more obviously than my younger kids who didn't really see that or have that kind of experience. And I wonder then what kind of like arguments and disagreements, even just like with kids or other adults, affects our kids. Do you think that it just transfers over? Do you think that all kids are just watching their parents, or that it has a different application?
I hope it does, because we have one kid who is super sensitive, hot, like very easily emotionally dysregulated right now. And man, I mean, for like basically his whole childhood has been very sensitive. And so if he's in like a low phase, man, like anything can set him off. And it's been I think honestly, I'm hoping every single day that it's not gonna like just totally negatively impact my kids where they feel like they don't get any attention. But I'm also trying to keep them in the loop, like Ruth said, where, something will happen. And often he's frustrated with his brothers. And that is like where a lot of that conflict comes from. So we've had a lot of practice at being able to tell him and his brothers that you are in charge of your emotions. And that, I think, is the number one thing that I wish I'd been taught when I was a kid, because I don't think anyone had the language for that when I was a kid. But to just understand that if my parents are mad at me, I can, try and look at my behavior, but they are responsible for their anger. I am not responsible for their anger. And similarly, I'm not responsible for my husband's feelings. I'm not responsible. Like, we can still try and be good people and do the best we can in our interactions. But when it comes to, man, this person is just, their emotions are way up here. That's like constantly something we use as a tool for our kids that like, yeah, like he was feeling very angry, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
And it makes total sense that you would be feeling, nervous or sad or guilty or frustrated, and those are all okay too. So like while we have someone over here like trying to help this kid regulate, like let's work with you and see. I mean, I'm talking about like on a good day when I'm parenting 10 out of 10.
Right.
That's how we work it out. But I do feel like, man, I hope they're getting practice with this, because it happens so much that
Yeah.
I would imagine there's no way you wouldn't like carry some of that with you. Hopefully the positive.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
I just keep thinking about just being honest, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think it's good for the kids to see you make a mistake, and for me to not argue with my husband in a great way, and then for me to own up to it and just say, I didn't like how I did that. I don't like when I said that. I'm sorry. Yeah, I lost control of my emotions. This is what happens. Like, if we can just talk through things, I think that is helpful. Not making mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
for heaven's sakes, that's what families are for. We're trying to figure this out and build strong relationships. And that's a hard thing to do, especially if we're just trying to pretend that everything's okay, because it's
Right.
not. It's not even close to okay. It's a mess. Families are messes, I think. But it's beautiful if we can just kind of laugh about it and be like, I did a really bad job with that fight. I'm sorry you guys had to hear that. I lost my temper. Did anything bother you? It bothered me. That's not what I want to do. That's not who I want to be. But when I'm tired and when the house is a mess and when, maybe not to excuse it, but this is what happens is we can lose our temper. And maybe it's a teaching moment, but hopefully it helps us all when we lose our temper to have some grace and compassion for each other.
Yeah, definitely. Grace and compassion. I like that.
I think also while I'm in those like high intense moments, it helps me a lot, but I think it helps my kids too to just be naming it while it's happening to me. And so like if I'm feeling something super intense, I'll say to my kids, I'm feeling so frustrated right now, or I'm feeling really anxious about this and overwhelmed. And it helps me to just hear me say it. But I think also while my kids, I mean, they see it, but for me to then like name it and talk about it with them, then I think everyone recognizes like, oh, it's feelings. And I think when you name it, it stops feeling like, mom is mad at, mom is an angry person, or mom is this or this. It's just like, mom is feeling this right now.
She's
That's
human.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
I would love for my kids to come away from being with me or being with the family thinking, oh, in our family, my mom will always stick up for me. My mom will always assume the best of me. And even if we disagree, I can still be honest with her. And if and so when I think about disagreements, I'm always filtering it through those like big objectives that I have of why, like, because I'm with Lindsay. Families are messy. Families are laboratories for just like trying to figure out how to be human, and we're all going to bump into each other. But if they know that I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt in trying, and that I want them to be honest, and that they always belong no matter what we agree or disagree on, I feel like that's a good measurement that helps to remind me of like to be careful about what I say and how I say it when I don't agree with something my kids are saying.
Yeah.
Any final words for this question? How do you decide what to share in front of your kids?
I would just say our kids nowadays are exposed to a lot of information, even if we didn't disclose it first or talk about it to them. Again, just what this generation is all about. And so I would just say, side on the benefit of the doubt of being able to share and open up and talk about it, because I think that's what we're trying to change from previous generations. And I feel like I'm kind of in the middle of, I see the benefit, and yet, there's things maybe I don't share, but they're so exposed to so many things. I'm just astounded by how much they know that I didn't share with them, so.
Yeah, I think I just echo what everyone said, that if we're being honest and trying to repair, I don't think there's anything that can't be resolved. So I probably err on the side of like too much sharing, but I'm also sharing, like, I'm pulling back the curtain a lot. And again, in a safe space where it feels like there's no fire necessarily on a constant basis. I think that's okay. And I think we can give ourselves grace that the people who live with us see the cracks, because they are living with us. So, I mean, maybe that brings some shame up for me that I didn't want to face the cracks, but it's like, hey, my kids keep me honest. So if nothing else, I'm being honest with myself that like, I see the cracks and it's going to be okay.
It's going to be all right.
Yeah. I feel like I learned a lot today from you guys. I like what you were saying, Whitney, about naming the emotion, because it can just look like anger, right? Like mom's mad.
Yeah.
But just to say like, no, I have anxiety. I'm like really worried right now. This is why I'm acting like this. I really like that. But I think just not being afraid to have discussions, to disappoint one another, to disagree with one another, because if we can have that baseline of love run through it, the thread of our family, and still disagree and disappoint, like that's the goal. And that is really hard to do, especially as your kids get older and they're making big decisions. And to know when to disagree and when to shut your mouth, all the lessons you're learning, but to know that there's love there. And that's the bottom line, that we all love each other and it's okay to communicate and express our feelings. And there's still love there.
Always so much love, and so much love for you guys on the Council of Moms. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing this perspective with us and just having a fun conversation. So thank you, and thank you for listening to us in the Council of Moms. We invite you right into this conversation. We're over on YouTube if you want to share this with a friend, see what we look like, and leave a comment to continue the conversation. We'd love that. Share this podcast with a friend. The Council of Moms is a production of BYU Radio. Share, like, subscribe, all the things the kids are saying, because we're taking care of those kids. And so, let's share the knowledge. Thanks, and we will see you next time.